Hello guys, today we're gonna check a beautiful book. This is Great Indian Classics. This is a special issue by AMAR CHITRA KATHA. This book costs around 1599. I got it for around 1000 rupees on Amazon. It was a good deal that time. So this special issue is a hardback book. The book is released in an unusual style. So the pages are A3 pages and even the book is a A3 size. So this is a unique book of all the ACK specials released by AMAR CHITRA KATHA. So this book gives a traditional look to the scripts of ancient literature of India. See here the front cover itself here, one of the poet or literate writing a script in an A3 size. So this gives a classic look to the books. So that is the specialty of this book. So on the front of the book there's a beautiful illustration. There's a poet writing about a woman. So I think this is Kalidasa's story, I think. So I have not read this book. I'll know when I study this. So this is one of the beautiful illustration, very hardback book, thick and sturdy. So book can be kept for a longer period. So on the back side of the book, there are some text written about the great Indian classics telling that this book is from 25 centuries up to the literature there, and even there is one part of the section where newer Indian languages like Kannada, Marathi, Malayalam and Punjabi, from these languages the story has been introduced in this book. So that's what this book is. And back also there's a beautiful illustration. Here a young child feeding the deers and a peacock on the branches of a tree. This is a beautiful illustration. This book is a stunning way for looking at the Indian classics. So let's check inside. As this is an A3 book, A3 sized book, it's an unusual book to be kept in a bookshelf. So sometime it may not fit and you have to keep this book vertically instead of like horizontal way. So this here inside there are pictures of people, and from inside the stories itself it's like a film. All ACK specials, their inside cover is like this only, like film type design. So that's what they're introducing. Let's check inside. They have not given contents in this book. So this book doesn't give contents, and instead they have divided into, like I will tell you. The first is Classics by Kalidasa. Kalidasa is a famous poet and storyteller. So this page has introduced one of the story here of hers. This illustration is from his story. And here are some of the literature about Kalidasa and his stories and poets. So this page is unique to AMAR CHITRA KATHA. It's a glossy one. All ACK specials, they have started to introduce this glossy pages, which looks stunning, by the way. And here also some of the text about Kalidasa and his stories. So this one single page is a glossy type, beautiful text, and the text is quite legible, good to read. Next, the story starts. The first story is Shakuntala. This is a famous story by Kalidasa. These stories are available individually as a paperback. So you can buy as a regular paperbacks which are usually available by AMAR CHITRA KATHA. Since this is an A3 size book, here I think you can see instead of they have combined two pages and made it in a single page. So that's what, if you are buying paperback, this entire itself will come as a single page. So this is the one combined pages they have given. So beautiful big book, giving a traditional look to the pages. So looking like an ancient script. So this is a beautiful illustrated book and knowing about Indian classics. The second story is Malavika. I think I've read in a childhood but I've forgotten about the story. So this is the second story, that is Malavika. The illustrations are quite stunning, similar to the other ACK books. And I think here they have written some introduction about Kalidasa. And here is the next story, Urvashi. So Urvashi was one of the Apsara we know, and her story is always the beautiful, enchanting one. So this is regarding Urvashi. So these three stories have been introduced in Kalidasa classics. The next is Sanskrit classics. Just like the other, there is one glossy page introduction about the Sanskrit classics and stunning illustrations. And in these stories, the stories which come are Udayana. I don't know about Udayana. I will try to read it. But it's a classic, so obviously the classics which are introduced here are very famous. So I think this will be a very stunning story, Udayana. And here is one introduction about Basa. I don't know, I'll need to read. I think it's a person about that, or one who has written this, I think. And here the next story, Ratnavali. So she's one of the famous character in Indian classics, Ratnavali. So this is one of the ancient Sanskrit classic. So that has been introduced as a second story. So, and here is an ancient India map. So beautiful new things they are introducing into the AMAR CHITRA KATHA books, making the young new readers more interested in these books. Keeping the next one is Vasanta Sena. So this is the third story in AMAR CHITRA KATHA classics, Sanskrit classics. So it makes a beautiful edition. I think these changes, they have given some changes in order to enjoy the young new readers, and also the same way of writing, drawing, to keep the legacy of AMAR CHITRA KATHA for a long period. I think this is the best way to introduce any books. The fourth story is Nagananda, I think. So I don't know about this. I know most of the classics, but some Sanskrit classics I don't know. Sanskrit is usually the ancient Indian text, and it's not my major. So I will read this. So here is a story, small text about Harsha they have introduced. And the next group is classics by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So he's one of the famous literate. So my mom is one of his fan actually. All his books like she likes to read. That is Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So So here is a text, a glossy page about him, and his stories have been introduced here. And the first story here, Devi Chaudrani. So Chaudrani is like Malkin, actually, like head of the house. So that's what will come. I don't know whether it's a name or just a like a sir they have introduced her. So we'll know. Many of the stories in this book I have not heard. So I think even for many people, I think this is a new stories, many stories. I am actually a fan of mythology rather than classics. So many stories for me also, it's very new. The next is Anand. So this is the another story which I have not read. So I thought I would have known a lot of stories, but it seems I don't know most of the stories. It's a very good classics books. I will definitely read all these classics and I will know. So the next story is Raj Singh. So this is also one of the famous story. This one I know. So it's a very good introduction to all the classics. I think majority of us, we have not known these stories. Because as they have said, it's from 25 centuries till that time they have introduced these stories. So here is some introduction about Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So this is about him, and here is his rest of the story is that Kapala Kundala, one of the stories. So these are all beautiful illustrated stories in order for you to know the A4 size book. So it's actually a huge book. So here are some writers of the independence era. They have introduced one small text here. And the next group is Tamil classics. Usually Tamil classics have been introduced in 25 centuries only. It's one of the classics still present. So here is one glossy page for your Tamil classics. They have introduced what all. And here is one of the famous story, that is Kannagi. So this is very very famous in India, especially in Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu is the where Tamil language is spoken. I think many of you know also, because Kannagi has been translated in many other languages, other Indian languages, even in English also. So next is Mani. This I don't know. Mani, so I think I'll read it. I'm really thinking I don't know much about our Indian classics. I need to read up. So I think it's better to give review after we read actually. If any people have some comments, kindly do put them below so that we know that. So this is Mani. Here is some small introduction about P. Sundaram Pillai. So nice introduction. This is about the authors, poets and storytellers. It makes a good. The next story is Jivaka. So this introduction gives a knowledge about them, the writers also for us, not only just the stories. So it's a good introduction, new thing introduced in AMAR CHITRA KATHA. So this is Jivaka, and here is a small text about Iyengar Adigal. So Iyengar Adigal, he was a Jain monk. So that's the story about Iyengar Adigal. So this is small text. It's a good way. And the next is from the Cholas dynasty stories. Cholas were very famous, and I think all their temples are quite famous in southern India, especially in Tamil Nadu, where Madurai temple is also built by Cholas only. Madurai Meenakshi temple, which is one of the biggest temples in India, which is in Madurai, was built by Cholas. So there's more introduction about Chola period, I think. And from their period, many stories arised. So one of them is Kumanan. So this is the Kumanan story. See, I think only one story they have given. And here are some Tamil epics they have given. Literature about Tamil epics. And this is next introduction about New Age classics. So these are very, very new age classics. So here is glossy page for New Age classics. So these are usually recent stories. So the first one is Satwant Kaur. So this is about Satwant Kaur. I think this was introduced in the Mughal period, I think. So and here is some introduction about Bhai Veer Singh. And here the next story is Veer Dhaval. Veer Dhaval is a very patriotic or like fighting type of story. Veer Dhaval, one of the warrior story. And here a small introduction about Nath Madhav. And the next story is Elusive Kaka. So this is the introduction about Elusive Kaka. And the next group is the Kuruba tribe. So here the Kurubas community is one of the ancient community, even still now it exists. So in their tribe all stories have been going on and their introduction have been given. Here is an introduction about Mailara. And the stories here are Taming of Gulla. So this is the story of Taming of Gulla there. It's a big book, lot of stories are there. Most of the stories we don't know. So it will be a good buy to know lot of our ancient Indian classics and tales. So here are some of the introduction about very famous people. That is Masti Venkatesha Iyengar, also known as Srinivasa by the name. Here one introduction. And here is G.R. Iyengar. And here C.V. Raman Pillai. So these are small introduction about famous people of India. And here is one of the famous story, Martanda Varma. So this is one of the classics. Martanda Varma, who is known to be brilliant, and his stories are always famous. So this is the last story, Martanda Varma. They have ended with it. And at the back cover is the similar design. But I think the pictures are different from the front cover. But has similar film-like pictures here. So this is about the great Indian classics. Please subscribe to my channel and look for more such amazing books. See you next time.